Hi, and thank you. Dr. Hannon had reached out to me several months ago asking me if I would speak, and I'm not the greatest speaker. I'd love to talk for anybody who knows me. Um, I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about the Sprouts team and what that is and a project that we have been working on when we get these babies. I unfortunately have no disclosures for you. What is the Sprout team? So this is an acronym that stands for Supporting Preemie Respiratory Outcomes. And what our specific patient population is any infant that is born less than 29 weeks with continued mechanical ventilation or continued non-invasive bilevel support, including NAVA at 4 to 6 weeks of life. So these are the babies that did not follow the normal trajectory, that were going to go home on their due date, and they have significant lung disease. We do follow some babies that are born less than 33 weeks under that have different reasons that still fit them in that category. But as far as the research part of things go, they are not included in that. The core group of these people are neonatologists, pulmonologists, bedside RNs, RTs, and NNPs. This was brought, at least to me, and I think as an idea by Dr. Erica Mandel in 2020, and officially launched with data collection in 2021, and I'll talk more about that. But it came out of an idea of, this wasn't a population that a lot of people wanted to care for, didn't like to care for, didn't know a lot about it, and it's kind of a niche of neonatology. And so these families deserved more standardized care on all levels, and we wanted to see better outcomes. Also, if it is the nights and the weekends and you're covering, what are we doing for these patients? And let's make sure we have contingency plans, et cetera. Also improve provider nursing and family satisfaction, which me being a part of that, I can say that it's definitely been a part of this. Oh, this is one of those fun slides. Let's see if I can do it right. Okay, so babies are born extremely low birth weight, between all the way down to 22 weeks now to 28 weeks. And a lot of these babies start not at Children's Hospital of Colorado, but they start at outside facilities. And we have, especially at the university, a brand new STORC team, which I just found out the name of it, that is really focusing on these 22 to 23 week babies. And they're great at what they do. What starts before the moms are even delivered. They talk about prenatal counseling. We are giving early steroids to the moms. We are talking about RDS management. We're optimizing the growth, the golden hour for the delivery room. And then they get the diagnosis at 36 weeks of BPD. That is bronchopulmonary dysplasia, for those of you guys who don't know that. And that is just a diagnosis that basically says you've got pretty bad lung disease at 36 weeks gestation. So what happens to the kids in the middle? And that is where, sorry, just to backtrack, chronic ventilation, safe feeding, developmental therapies. It's like two very different ends of the spectrum. So what happens in the middle? And that is where the Sprout team comes in. These are the evolving BPD kids. Our hope is in getting these kids at that 4 to 6 weeks of age. Our hope is to give them the therapies and support that they need so that hopefully they won't end up with a trach vent G-tube. Some kids do, but there's a lot of research and data in this population of different ventilator management styles. And again, having a group of people that is understanding and always talking about and thinking about those things, we feel is going to be better once we do get to that diagnosis of BPD. So the patient care model that we currently have, we meet weekly on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. This initially was started for whichever attending of the week is on service. We have a chance to kind of run those kids with a team of the NNPs, pulmonologists, all of the neonatologists that are available to come on the group. We are having more and more RNs come as of recently, plus we always like to have our RT counterpart. It's a team. This is a chance for us to give input from every aspect of care on what is going on with this baby, and then also to get feedback if there are challenges or struggles that we need to try to figure out. Twice a month, we have work group meetings, research meetings and there's a lot of things going on in the background, room for improvement, different projects that are always coming up that we need to have conversations on. That 1 hour on a Tuesday is not enough time for. We also have people contact us from around the region to do consults, and sometimes those consults end up in admissions to our unit, and other times it is just having those conversations, guidance, et cetera, to try to help manage these babies where they live. Because I think, as we heard earlier from Catherine, coming from a long ways home when you have family elsewhere is not always the best thing, but sometimes what these babies need. Locally, we obviously are right across the street from University of Colorado, so do in a lot of the same physicians work at both facilities. So we tend to get a lot of our babies from there. St. Joe's as well, which is local, and every once in a while we will get one from Presbyterian St. Luke's as well from their NICU. Regionally, we work a lot with Albuquerque, the Presbyterian NICU there, and Sanford Medical Center in South Dakota. The BPD, even though it's a niche within the NICU, there's a very large national collaboration. And I know that our physicians are always in contact with the national places when we run into speed bumps that we see here. Sorry, I have notes in front of me. I'm not even looking at them, so I'm just gonna make sure I'm on. Shocking, I know. Okay, so what I'm really here to talk to you guys about is the NICU Sprout welcome meetings. And so this started in 2020, kind of starting going. 2021, we started collecting data. And then we started getting all of these families that had been at another NICU for anywhere from 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, several months. And now they're coming into a brand new world. They've lost their primary nurses. They've lost their primary physicians. They're in a completely different area. Likely they've been told that they're coming to this location because things aren't getting better. So then they land with us, and it's a new team, new faces. We're excited to see them because we're like, hey, we can help you and we can do all these things. But we wanted to make sure that the families had a little bit of a smooth transition. And so myself, Carla Buckles, we had a variety of other subspecialty people. Carla is a social worker in our unit, got together, and it's like, in addition, I think this was also, I don't remember if it was Sadie or Erica, but we needed something for the families, a welcome meeting of sorts. And so that's what we did. And we got together as a group of medical people, and we're like, these are the greatest ideas, and we're gonna just make so much change for the families. We'll find out later if we did or not. So what ideally how this works is we'd like to know from these outside facilities, okay, we have a transfer date. It's going to be this date. There is an email that has been created called Sprout Welcome Meeting, and the physicians from whatever outside facility will send an email that will go to the people that are going to be doing these meetings. And then our goal is to meet with the family within 24 hours of admission. It started off when we first started doing it with one healthcare provider, which was mostly me, and then a social worker, and then I don't work 7 days a week. So that became not a, that wasn't going to logistically work. And so it's currently being done with whatever social worker is on, and ideally it would be the one that is assigned to that family for an initial meeting, and then the charge nurse. And we also felt the charge nurse was going to know which patients were coming and from where and for what. So these were going to be 2 people that were going to be in the unit to allow us to make sure that we weren't missing any of these patients. And then after the meeting, we have documentation, and I will go through that here in a second. So the whole goal of this meeting is you're at a new place, you're in a new setting. We kind of want to get to know you and want them to get to know us, but we also want to get to know about their baby and their family and what works for them and what didn't work. Sometimes families have great experiences at the outside facility. Other families have things that maybe they would have liked to have done better. And one of the things that we do know with this population is we're going to spend a lot of time with the families, having very difficult conversations. So it's important for us to establish, hey, this is the expectation, this is how we round, these are the providers that are going to be caring for your kids. This is what the team looks like here. But then also understand what works from the family. Do they want to know every single detail? Are they like, we'll be here for rounds, and if not, it's okay if we talk to you or not talk to you? Like, every family style and how they like to communicate is completely different. So this is a chance for us to really sit down with this family and ask those questions. So these are the actual questions that we ask, and we have a printout. So no matter who does it, all of these resources are available so that you get the same thing with every family. Share a little bit about why your child was transferred to Children's and what your former NICU team explained as the next steps. This is important, especially as one of the providers, because oftentimes these babies are coming over because they can't get their breathing tube out, and most likely that means they're going to need a tracheostomy. Do they know that? Do they think they're just coming over here to get a new ventilator? So this is an important time for us to kind of be like, oh, we were told this by our medical providers, but the family is telling us this. So we have to figure out how to meet them in the middle with that. What are your goals and hopes for your child? Again, it's your goal to get the breathing tube out and go home by your due date, because again, if that's the case, we need to have a different conversation and we need to make sure that we are filling those gaps for this family. These babies are also older, so they're starting to get their little voices and starting to be a little on the crankier side, and they're growing up, which is totally normal. But we want to know from the family, what helps them calm or settle? What do they like? What do they not like? And then again, I alluded to this earlier, but what type of communication was working well? What wasn't? Again, I think we want to know those things. Not all, it's been said many times, there is no one size fits all for any of this. And again, maybe there's special things that every family wants to know. Like if I'm not at rounds, I want to be called for rounds, and that's a whole nother can of worms we could probably do an entire lecture on. But these are the things that we need to know to set everybody up for success. We give a packet of information, and this is one of the things that we do hand out, which it's laminated, and it in theory goes, one of the many things that go in the patient's room that we put on the wall that I'm sure everybody looks at in detail. But we give it to the parents to fill out, so that way they can be a part of this. And then we leave it at the bedside, and again, hoping that the staff, especially the nurses, as they get to know the baby and the family, can utilize. So after Dr. Ramo and I were working together, and I'm like, I think it would be cool if we ask questions to the parents, because, again, we got in a room as medical healthcare workers and thought this is what's going to be best for the families. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to go and randomly ask a few questions. We came up with three or four questions, and I went and talked to 3 different families. And so this is what the families had to say. What stood out to you about the welcome meeting? Having a social worker involved was very helpful, and it was great intro into the NICU life at the new location. Another family, our transfer was so abrupt, our welcome meeting was on the same day, so the welcome meeting wasn't helpful to us. I am not sure I remember a lot about it, since I was still in shell shock about the transfer. I think this is a prime example of one size does not fit all. And also a great, again, we think we're doing all the great things and know all the things, and then we'll find out. We have to ask the people that we are trying to make the impact on before assuming that. Did you find this meeting helpful to transition to a NICU? I enjoyed having the new resources available, an explanation of the team, of who the team was, and the structure of how the flow of rounds went. Next family, and you can tell these are very different experiences. I would have liked more information on how the process of picking a new primary nurse happens, and I felt like it was missing for me. It sometimes created an awkward middle school moment when the nurses we hadn't met signed up to be primaries. I thought that was kind of funny, because I can just imagine that, oh my gosh, I have to be friends with you and I don't, now you're my primary. So again, this this particular family, I mean, I think we've all been around that in the healthcare. It's like, whether it's you're like, gosh, I have to take care of this family, I don't really jive with them, or if it's like the primary nurse, or you're a nurse and you have to have that family that nobody wants to take care of. Like, again, it would be lovely if everybody congealed together and we all got to take care of everybody we liked, but I think from a family's perspective, that really stood out to me, because especially on the night shift, you don't always get to meet the families and interact. How do you sign up for primary? So I think that, again, great feedback for us from the parents. I would have liked to have a better understanding of how often the attendings rotate from the beginning and how infrequently I would see the attending. Every 2 weeks can be a wildly different experience. Again, great feedback for us as a provider, and I think anybody who works in the NICU understands that no matter what position we're in, that is still going to be the case, but it's good information and feedback for us to have. What could have been done better or different? Would have liked to have a physical handout of who is on the team, MDs, NPs, and PNPs. What makes the Sprout team different than just being in the NICU? An explanation of why my baby is going to the Sprout team. Again, I got these and I was like, oh my gosh, we have so much work to do. But the great feedback. An information packet available at the outside hospital about the Sprout team, maybe a fast fact sheet that stays in the room to help NICU with onboarding information. So one of the families that had been there for a really long time, and I was like, yeah, she's still in the NICU, I'm gonna go talk to her. And I went to her and I said, Savannah, so do you remember your welcome meeting? What's that? And I looked at Hariel, his primary nurse. I'm like, how did we miss a welcome meeting on this mom? And so still never did quite figure that out. But again, this good feedback to have. So I still asked her some questions because I thought the feedback would be valuable in the setting of not having a welcome meeting. She was grateful to get to stay during shift change. She wasn't allowed at the outside hospital. These are the little things that I think make a big difference for families. She would have liked to have a more realistic expectation from the outside hospital of how long she was going to be at Children's. She was told she was going for a few weeks, and so far at the time that I put this together, it had been 7 months. The bedside RNs are the ones that really helped acclimate her over time. So I think, again, our nurses are great. I know that they're a very important part of our team, but this is just, I think, I'm grateful this mom spoke English, because I think had she not, this would have been a very difficult transition for this family. So where do we go from now? Or where do we go from here? So there has been talk at the local define and unit level, at the unit define meetings about maybe extending this project to all babies that have an extended stay at another NICU. I think we still have some fine tuning that we need to figure out with this smaller targeted population. And then I was on service about a month ago, and Dr. Wymore and I were chatting about, okay, we have this welcome meeting, but maybe that's with a social worker and a charge nurse, but maybe also sitting down as a medical team with this family and kind of checking in, kind of like a welcome perspective from our standpoint. I think that's a great idea, because again, and one of the moms said is, well, I think a week's too long to wait. I think, we were making vent changes on day 1. And I think Catherine spoke to that earlier. Again, I think we need more parent feedback on what is going to be good for this transition from one unit to another, and instead of just us thinking it's great ideas. And after this meeting, I have already spoken with Susan, and we are trying to get a group together to work on making this a data collection process. I am not a data collector person. I appreciate those of you that are, but I want to make sure we get the right people at the table. So we are in the process of coming up with surveys that we will be able to send out to families about this welcome meeting. So that way we can actually get the data we need and then move forward to make this an even broader project. So Sprouts by the numbers. Officially, as I said, it was launched in July of 2021. So far, we have cared for 107 patients. 86 of them have been discharged or transferred out of the NICU. 8 have died, and 11 are current Sprout patients in the NICU. And this was about a month ago, so those numbers might be a little bit different now. 40 of them went home with a tracheostomy and home vent. 14 of them went home on nighttime BiPAP and daytime low flow. And then 25 of them went home on low flow. So anybody who actually works in the unit and takes care of these kids, when I saw this, I was actually very proud of the team, because I thought I wasn't expecting those numbers. So I think the fact that 25 of them went home on low flow was quite impressive. I want to share with you a few of the graduates that we've had a chance to take care of. This is Donovan. He was born at 27 weeks. He stayed in the hospital for 175 days. He went home on nighttime bilevel support, low flow cannula during the day, and went home with a G-tube. This is a mom. She was able to be there, was able to be there all the time and lean into, to that kind of thing. And so again, I think my experience, the families that can be there, the outcomes do tend to be a lot better. Not all families are able to do that, but he is now thriving and living his best life. His parents live in Breckenridge, and thankful to social media, they were visiting Florida, I saw not too long ago, and Donovan was actually off his oxygen. Amazing what sea level will do for babies. Truett was born at 24 weeks, and his brother passed away over at the university. His name was Nolan, and I say that because it was very important to this mother. And I think it was, we see this often, but we can't forget about the one that was lost, because they are still very alive and well in the parent's heart. And so I wanted to make sure that I did that. So Truett was in the NICU for 218 days. He also went home on nighttime BiPAP and low flow cannula and G-tube feeds. He just celebrated his first birthday not too long ago. And again, thank you to social media, able to see that he is just going to bloom into a crazy toddler and do have probably his best life with his parents. And here is Lyra. Lyra spent 267 days in the hospital. She got to visit 267 days in the hospital, but that was through a total of 3 hospitals. She was born at 27 weeks. Her parents were also there all the time. Lovely. I wish I'd have flown these parents. They were awesome and amazing. Like whatever their daughter needed, they were there. They supported, they asked the right questions, never really got mad, loved them. I loved all of the families. I think I had a special bond with Lyra's parents. So she was able to go home. Her parents ended up moving to Portland because that's where their extended family lived. And they knew that they were going to be needing healthcare, home healthcare help. And it wasn't going to be easy to come. So they moved to where their family is. So this is a Harriel, who's one of our nurses. I was walking by and I saw her reading a book to one of her primaries. And I said, I tried to go real quiet and take the picture. And of course, she's like, what are you doing? And so I said, can you just go back and do that? I need a candid photo, please. And so she did. So this is one of her primaries that just recently went up to the floor. I didn't do an official thank you slide, but I want to thank Dr. Sadie Huyen, Erica Mandel, Kathleen Hannon, all of the social workers at Children's and all of the therapy team, bedside nurses and RTs, because this truly is a village and we couldn't do it without all you guys.
Thank you so much, Jen.